Circle for head. A circle for a head. That's the simplicity of it all. What we're going to do is just draw a circle like this. If you think you can't draw, look how badly I've drawn that circle, yet in the end I managed to do these things. Just putting eyes. I'm taking this in the most rudimentary way that I can. So you can have a mouth that's a smiley mouth. You can have a mouth that's an unhappy mouth. And you can have no mouth at all. And you can have a shocked mouth. Look at that. That shows you just how simple it is. Circle for the head. I mean, let's just be a little bit more kind of involved. We're looking at something which is a ball. Think of the globe. Think of the Earth, and draw it as though you could see right through it. There's the equator running through, like that. That's the Earth's equator, and then you've got the meridian in the northern hemisphere. That'll go right through Greenwich, and at least one place in or very near Paris as well, and Cape Town. Anyway, there you have it. Funnily enough, when you look at it like that, this could be the front, or this could be the front, just because we're drawing in 2D to represent 3D. Let me just shave that bit off the outside there so we're looking a little bit better. But what this comes down to is that somewhere here on that equator, where the equator meets the meridian, you put a nose, and then either side on the line you can put circles which become eyes, and that's where you start. I mean, from there on it's whatever you want it to be. I mean, you can put the eyes in here. Generally, eyes, the sort of, if you like, the iris, the pupil and all that, will sit in the lower half of the eye, because, as you'll see, if I put them right in the middle, the person looks like they're in shock. So you don't really want to do that too much, and the position of these can be really good, really useful. Look, that's somebody who's a bit concerned, isn't it? They're looking to one side like that. And if you put it like this, well, they're looking upwards. If you put the eyelids in halfway down and just show half the pupil, it could be looking very sarcastic or very cheesed off. But effectively, what you've got here is a globe with a meridian here, which we've positioned just here. There's your meridian, and an equator, which we've positioned here, and it goes all the way around. And when it comes to making that into a finished item, well, lots of times people don't bother with doing what I like to call underdrawing. They'll just draw the thing like this, and they won't be too fancy about it either. They'll just say, look, here's a person, here's their face, and there they are with a little smile, or not so happy, cheesed off a bit, that sort of thing. You can create what you want with the mouth and the eyes. But this is my point. If you've been struggling with the idea of doing cartoons, maybe thinking a bit literally, you've got to come to the conclusion that what we're doing here is visual shorthand. I mean, you're looking at this, you can see what it is. You can see, look, here's a face. Yeah, fair enough. But actually, in real life, nobody has a head like a tennis ball. But we're doing cartoons. Look, this is how a head really is. We'll bring that meridian down and drop it off. See where the equator is there? We drop the meridian. Instead of taking it down and underneath like that, we drop it off and we run a secondary shape underneath. And now you've got what is more likely, more like the human face. You can still do what you want with it. The latitude that you have to get it right, wrong, or indifferent is enormous. You know, there's so much that can be done using this simple technique. But I mean, I suppose the thing that we know most in our world out there that we see all the time because it's there all the time is if you think of your on your phone, you've got your emojis, smiley face, and then any number, just look at all those emojis that you've got, any number of different expressions that don't even bother using a nose on them or anything like that. It's just different ways of drawing these little items here. So if somebody tells you you can't draw cartoons, I say yes you can. And this is the main number one thing that you need to draw a cartoon is a head, because in a cartoon it may only ever be two heads talking to each other. You can't show two bodies talking to each other, or two feet talking to each other, or two hands talking. Well, you can, I suppose, but it's just going to be a bit pointless. It's always involving personalities and characters. And this shape is used whether you're drawing a man, a woman, boy, or girl. That's what it's used for. You can enlarge on that. You can make it 1,000 different versions of it, but in effect that's what it is. So if you think that you can't draw a cartoon, I'm here to tell you yes you can. And that is the end of the first part of this as a circle. But the next thing we're going to look at is the body, and you can do it as a you can do it like this, as a kind of a square, because you know it doesn't have to be realistic. It only needs to represent a person. But what I'm going to propose to you is that better than that is this shape, which we call the jelly bean. It's like this, and it's a great shape because you can do so much with it. It's quite expressive. Make it like that, you know, you can put a head on it now. That head could go almost anywhere, and it gives you opportunities to really be as creative or as straightforward as you like. But if you look at that, you know, here's the, we'll try and make it a three-dimensional shape, because that's what we've got to do. But there you are, that's its three-dimensional nature, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and sometimes you can even make it have a real sort of crunch in the middle, because the fun thing with that is you may not even need the head. Then you can do this kind of thing. You've got some kind of a creature like this. So you can double as a person. When it's done like this, you can make it into almost anything. You know, it can be a cartoon cat in this fashion, by putting funny little ears on it like that. It could be a dog by putting ears on it like that. I suppose in the end, once you've got the idea that you can use a jelly bean shape and a circle shape, you're well on your way to being able to do almost anything you want. All it takes from there on, once you've got this sorted out, look, I'm just running through it very rapidly. Once you've got this concept fixed in your mind, all it takes is just practice. I mean, just look at that. There's a human body, the jelly bean. Never, never, never lose sight of the good old jelly bean. It's such an important part of cartoon drawing, and even the top people will often start off with that as their underdrawing. And I'm a big one for what I call underdrawing, because underdrawing allows you to put the sort of the background shape into something. I'm just going to give you an example here. Here's somebody you know, we can add some legs here, and because of the way the jelly bean sort of shapes itself and the way it shows a kind of a weight distribution, not wishing to get too technical, you start to see that it can be the basis for an entire character, just this jelly bean idea. Male or female, doesn't matter. There you go, look, an arm, couple of arms, face. We can, I'm still, you know, really just trying to contend that if you think that you can't draw cartoons, I think that the problem is that you're thinking of the wrong thing. You're thinking that you've got to do it in such and such a way, but actually all you've got to do is do it in your way. So that's the jelly bean concept, and you'll easily be able to create cartoons now that you understand that as a simple concept. Now, having been through the circle for the head, the jelly bean shape for the body, what I want to address now is the limbs. Now, they can simply be sticks like this. I would suggest putting some sort of a foot on it, but it doesn't have to be, you know, as artistic as you think. Here's a person, you know, it's just sticks, and we've got bobbles for their hands, but that's fine. That's the beginning of it all for a lot of people when they want to start doing cartoons, because once you get this as an idea, you start to think of poses, you know, how you can get a bit of action into it. Look, let's have somebody who's really happy. Whoopee! See how shapeless it can be, and you can play with it. You know, you just decide where you're going to put everything. You don't have to decide everything. It's not. Whenever you put something on the page, it isn't the finished article until you say it's finished. So you can get it wrong 1,001 times. And you know, you should also, you know, look at other people's work and see what they're doing in terms of posing and balance and that kind of thing, but don't get too caught up with it, because in the end, one of the biggest reasons for drawing cartoons in themselves is that you want to put either a story or a point across. There's somebody putting a point across. Look at that hand. Look at it. You know what it is, I know what it is, and that's all that counts. So sticks for limbs is good. I'll just throw in something else as well that, let's go jelly bean here, there's our jelly bean. If we put a stick in for a limb like this, as we did before, and if we're happy with where that is, we can then decide that we'll flesh it out and turn that, look at this, I'm going over it now, to make it into something a little bit more, you know, three-dimensional, as it were. Here we are with putting the legs in like this. So, you know, look how expressive that can be, even just in that way. And finally, just put a little bit of a shadow on the ground there. Now, you wouldn't necessarily say that you wanted that to be the finished item, but it might be a good starting point for you. You might say, well, this person is making a point, so I'm now going to make a big effort to get the fingers right on here. And now you see it suddenly starts to get a bit more interesting. A couple of hairs on the head there, just for amusement's sake. And we should always have amusement in mind, I think. Unless we're making some sort of political cartoon, but even then, or even if it's something very serious, you know, like a health information or medical or something like that. But as you can see, once I've got this shape in place, I can start to develop the character, so that, and you know, we can put clothes on them. Let's give this person a coat, like this. There you go. A coat. And when you get to the point where you start putting ink on top or colouring it in, all the underlying stuff disappears, so that you've got, all of a sudden, a pretty good, pretty good approximation of what it is that you want. Let's give it some colour because it's fun. So what we've done so far is we've said circle, jelly bean, sticks for limbs, and those are just jumping off points. That's where you can get started from. And from here now we move on to the last part. The last part is text, really, because I'm just going to show you this in the simplest form, but let's have our heads, our jelly beans, our sticks, like this, little hands, and we're saying something, and then we've got somebody else over here, and this is the essence of cartoons. It's at least two people interacting with each other. So here you have that. And they talk to each other. Now this, you can have talk balloons and talk bubbles and all the rest of it. But actually the most important thing is just the words. So let's go like this, and let's go like this. And in its simplest form, all we need is a line that goes from close to that to close to that, and that tells us that two people are having a conversation. You might have a joke that you like, and you could draw it up as several frames. So you produce frame 1, and you've got your two characters. You don't have to draw the whole thing. Again, this look at how simple that is. You don't have to draw their arms and legs all the time, but you have the text here and then the text here. And what you should be doing is setting it up so that at some point, which is preferably frame number 4, you get a punchline, which will go, we'll just move quickly through like this. And then frame number 4, you have your punchline. And then this person is the victim of the punchline. So look how simple it all is. Everything's based on ideas. If you have an idea that you can turn into a very short, brief story, you can, even without super skills as a cartoonist, you can actually produce something that will be memorable. They're all over the internet, they're all over papers, they're all over everywhere, these kinds of things. Simple cartoons. But remember, every brilliant cartoon, every super duper one, starts with these kinds of underdrawings. I'm just going to do this now for the sake of the finish of this. Here's a person running. It's really just underdrawing, and you can do a lot more with it once you decide that you're going to, you like your pose, you like what you've done thus far, and you can then start in, if this was the pencil layer, you can start adding ink. If this is done digitally, you add layers and put your finished drawings on top until such time that you've actually got the whole thing as you want it. So there you are. Those are 4 different ways that you can suddenly become a cartoonist. And I really hope you've enjoyed this. If you've got something out of this, if you feel that it's given you anything or given you any insight, do consider subscribing to the channel and sharing this to other people. You may have friends who are interested in learning how to do this as well. But believe me, you can go from being zero to, well, let's not say zero to hero, but you can go from not really knowing how to do a cartoon but wanting to suddenly being able to do it. There's hope for everybody, and I wish you all the best with this. And please drop me messages, drop me something in the messages below and let me know what you've got out of this. So thank you very much. See you again soon.